mills, I'm sure someone's like, oh my gosh, rumor mills, that happens all the time in my organization, or I don't even know where to find the final piece of information, the official spot for it.
And do managers or leaders feel equipped, like they have the tools and the pathways are in place in an effortless way so they don't have to recreate everything when something like that sort of starts? Are they able to communicate well and kind of stop it in its tracks before it spirals out of control?
This kind of transition into principles, and Matt brought it up, is sending emails. And something new that when I started here, and now I can't even imagine really going back to internally emailing unless absolutely necessary, is we are not big fans of internal email and emailing one another. So this is kind of putting us in our principles, but let's start there.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
don't we do it?
Yeah, so email is an interesting thing. There's reasons to email. I would never say, there may be some shock tags that we put on things like don't ever email again. You're not, the truth of the matter is you're going to email. But if I'm trying to communicate with my entire organization and I'm trying to, let's say I'm launching a new strategy, if I'm sending an email with that, it is a waste of time for several reasons. Number one, most email that people send and receive that should matter to them the most are emails from external parties. So there are ways to communicate externally without email, but by and large, email is going to be the choice that you have, that most people have, and it's okay for that. But if I have, let's say I get 50 emails a day. Most of them are external, let's say, because you're in an ideal world where most of them are external, which means they're probably vendors or clients or something that's impacting my business pretty significantly. And I'm sending out one email that is the new vision for something that we're launching at the organization. It's going to get lost in those 50 emails. Like, the chances of me actually spending the time to read that email is pretty low. In addition, I sent that out today. I have 2 new hires tomorrow. How do they have the email?
Yeah, that's the growth.
How do they know what's going on?
Right.
They have somebody has to forward it to them. Yay. So now I have to contact somebody and say, oh, make sure you forward that person this email, right? It is not a good way for the type of communication that we're talking about. If you think about, a good way that I would think about it is very much like, newsletters, et cetera, that you receive marketing emails from us, as an example, third parties, right? It has to be a pretty high bar for you, and you have to consciously make an effort to go read those things, or whoever's doing the marketing has to do a super awesome job of creating content that is catchy, that I'm like,
Right.
Oh, I do want to read that one. That is really
Clickbait
valuable to
the
me,
max.
right?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be doing that with my employees. I don't want to have to be creating emails that have urgent, must read.
The next big thing at Bulb Digital.
It creates a different tone for what you have to create, but that's ultimately what you have to do if you're fighting with all of the other emails that are coming from every other person, from, external vendors, external, partners, and internal people who still do email all the time, right? We work for some customers where they have a lot of staff. They have a very large company. We're working with them. There is a number of them who have transitioned their mindset to kind of minimize the email thing. But when you're talking about 60,000 employees, you got a lot of people who are still diehard email is everything. And, it's a lot. There are people who are getting hundreds of emails a day. It's very difficult to cut through that noise.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts on this. I'm trying to organize where I want to go with this, but I think the distinction I made at the beginning too about dialogue versus larger corporate internal communication on a more macro level. But even when you think about dialogue, when you're thinking about employee to employee, don't email. That's just absolutely not the most effective way of communicating between team members or within a project space. There are way better ways of doing this, whether it's Teams channel messaging, whether it's even direct messaging, whether it's on a Slack platform. There's so many tools out there that solve these problems better than email.
Yep.
End sentence, period.
Yep.
If you are still internal emailing your coworkers, just know that there's a way better option out there.
So
Shameless plug for Emma's
I
blog.
wrote a blog about this.
And it's really good, and it very
Yeah.
cleanly details all of those reasons
and
out.
I mean, I'll say this from a very humble place of I had been internally emailing all of my career until I started working here. And I can speak from experience of the way we communicate here is 10 times leaps and bounds more efficient and effective and just more enjoyable, honestly, because I feel like I'm on the same page with my coworkers and we can get things done faster.